What was your effort, done helping others moment? I had a pickup truck, and anyone with a truck knows that means all of a sudden everyone and their cousin that is moving wants help. I'm fine with that. I had ground rules, and I didn't stray from them. You pack the crap, I just put it in the truck and move it to the new place. You tell me where the box goes, and once it's down that's the end. Got a lot of pizza and beer, and cash back in the day. But no, that's not the direction of this story. I had an old acquaintance from school. We weren't close, in fact he was a bit of a bully, but he seemed chill enough almost 15 years later. He asked me if I still had a truck, and if I could tow his car someplace. I said sure, throw me a couple bucks and rent a trailer and I'm your guy. Have the rental arranged, and I'll show up with a hitch and we're off to the races. I told him here that I work midnights, and I'm going to be tired, so the faster it's over the better for me. Well, I showed up, and he didn't have the trailer. Okay, fine. We go get the trailer, and head over to his place. We get the car in, it's all dandy. I ask where we're going. We're going 2 hours away. Okay, that sucks. Just going to race the car at the drag strip 2 hours away, do a couple runs and we'll head back. My phone died, and my truck didn't have a clock. Hess off racing his crap box, and I can't find him anywhere. I finally managed to find him, had to be 4 hours later, and tell him it's time to go. He says sure, just one more rip up the track. Fine. He disappears again, can't find him. I've got the truck running at this point, ready to tell him getting the trailer and the car back is his problem unless we leave right now. I'm exhausted. I barely slept, and I'm cranky. I see him flashing a big huge wad of cash. I think, well, at least I'm going to get paid a decent chunk for my efforts. We get the car loaded up, and head back the 2 hours to our city. Drop the car off, drop the trailer off, and drop him off. He says thanks, and gives me $10. I'm astounded. I tell him dude, this doesn't even cover gas. It was supposed to be a half hour, and it was pretty much all day. He goes well, it's all I've got on me, sorry man, and that was the last time I ever hauled a car. F that guy. God, just typing this out made me pissed off. Reading it pisses me off. Was donating baby/toddler clothes to a mom in need through one of those Facebook donating pages. She didn't have a car, I did, so I drove 30 minutes away to deliver the stuff all for free. Got in a bad accident less than 5 blocks from her house. So I texted her to see if she could come get what she was able to because my car was totaled. She wouldn't walk the 4 blocks, then reported me to the group and got me kicked out for not following through. I ended up with a fractured sternum. Yeah, F that crap, never again. This one breaks my heart. You have a lovely soul and I hope you feel better now. I'm a teacher. A parent of a former student contacted me in an emergency situation, couldn't afford to pay bills, and needed help. She was super helpful to me in my first year teaching, so I asked friends and family to help out and raised her about $2,000. Never again. She has contacted me every few weeks since then, always with a new reason why she needs more money, and when I offer food and clothing resources, she refuses it. It has placed me in such an awkward situation and I regret ever trying to help her out in the first place. Have you tried setting hard boundaries? I did a chunk of volunteer work where I was regularly dealing with people like that. They just keep popping up if they think they can pressure you or wear you down. Apply for resources and help through the local job and family services. I can't help you further. More than likely, you'll get an angry outburst where they try to push your boundaries and get you to cave. I would respond with bored indifference. Okay. I have work to do. Goodbye. And then hang up. Repeat that a couple times and they usually drop off. Don't offer anything, don't be nice, but don't be rude either because that gives them ammunition to complain to your supervisor about. Bored indifference and I got to go. You may also want to let your supervisor, principal, know what's going on so they aren't surprised by a random complaint about you if she tries that angle to get even. I had a customer who used to show up and just wear me down until I gave him free stuff. He got so intrusive that even after I left that job he coerced my old coworker into telling him where I work now. This dude had the audacity to call my work and left a message asking me to go scout out campsites for him. I ignored it and he then called over and over again. Finally, my boss had to tell him to stop calling if it doesn't have anything to do with business. He kept trying, and eventually gave up. That's nightmarish. He comes off as not just entitled, but really creepy too. I'm glad he finally gave up, and I hope he never contacts you again. I have neighbors across the road who we extended ourselves to help out because they had young kids and seemed to be struggling. Well, they were really starting to take advantage to the point where we couldn't walk out of our house without them literally yelling for us because they needed a phone, a ladder, money, someone to drive them somewhere, diapers, our Wi-Fi password, our wood, etc., etc. This started happening every day and multiple times a day. It became ridiculous and oppressive. They have since pulled that crap with everyone else on our road, wearing out one generous person after the other. Once you realize people are merely moochers and are content to remain so, that's when you're done. Try having those people as family. My wife's oldest sister has 2 young daughters. Her and her husband are constantly getting brand new cars, the best liquor they can find, other expensive toys and such. I personally can't stand them much. Then my sister-in-law, who was on dialysis, found out she had a kidney donor. Big surgery several hours away. It was a whole thing. To help, my wife offered to get them groceries, so they gave her a list. Of course, it was filled with a bunch of worthless crap. While we could technically afford it, we weren't exactly flush with cash. We had to move things around. This went on for a month, my wife making weekly trips. I was adamantly against it, which my wife said was unfair, as they needed the help. Upon the last trip she made, me got a call from my wife apologizing to me for not listening. Brother-in-law couldn't wait to show her the brand new movie theater room he put in. She was beyond pissed. All I could say was, I warned you. They sound like horrible people. Do you still have contact with them? They're at family events. But my wife cut off contact for the most part. Luckily, it's a big family, so we generally have other people to hang out with. I think my sister-in-law could be a good person. It's her husband who's really the problem. Oh, we had family like that. We had enough money to get by growing up, but my uncle, who had a well-paying job, would always hit my dad up for money. Several times, he had the nerve to drop by for a loan whilst driving a brand new car. He would give all his money to the church. When my dad finally told him he should probably pay his electric bill before giving his money to some greedy pastor, my uncle called my dad a heathen. Dad punched him flat. I lived next to someone just like this. 2 young kids, very friendly, then they just take advantage of you. I made the mistake of telling them I was a nanny and offering to babysit all of one time. After that, it was seriously at least once a day they drop of their kids. It wasn't even like the kids were easy. 2 kids, still in diapers, who were little terrorizers. I finally told them to F off after they yelled at me for not being available. They knocked on my door, left their 2 young kids waiting there, and peaced out. I wasn't even there. Cops were called after a toddler in nothing but her diaper was wandering the apartments. That's awful. That is one thing I made clear immediately, was that I was no babysitter. Because, yes, that was hinted at. I did get a request to come look at baby's rash when they found out I was a nurse, but I quickly explained I was only a psych nurse and I can only tell if you're crazy, lol. You asked me to look at your baby's ass, so yes, I would say you are crazy. Here is a prescription for 10 milligrams of F-off. Had a friend years ago who was a bit self-centered and prone to stretching the truth, but he was a nice enough guy with a rough backstory and my friend group liked him, so I cut him a lot of slack. I like to host and I have friends staying over pretty regularly. Back then, I usually had 1 or 2 people spending the night on any given day. Anyhow, over the span of a couple of years this guy starts abusing that, staying over for days or even weeks at a time, eating my food and drinking my liquor without contributing, that sort of thing, while constantly talking about his grand plans and daydreams as if they'd already happened. A little sad, but also pretty annoying after a while. Anyhow, I sit him down one day and let him know he's got to head home, and that he's free to come over and hang out, but I'm not comfortable with him staying over for the time being. He leaves. I think it went remarkably well and head out to work, and it turns out that he broke in while I was away at work and stole a bunch of my sister's things because his birthday was coming up and neither of us even thought to get him a gift. It takes a special person to rationalize how burglarizing someone is really their fault. Anyway, All slack and sympathy went out the window immediately. Called the cops and he's dead to me. His birthday was coming up and he read your minds to know you weren't going to give him a gift? Edit. A bunch of comments have popped up and pointed out that this is classic addict behavior. It really is. Deflect and take no responsibility so you can keep getting that high. Yes, well, happy birthday. We retroactively got you several months of squatting at our house bill free. Hope you liked it, you effing mooch. We got you an all expenses paid holiday in the local penitentiary. Sadly, that sounds like typical alcoholic/addict behavior justification to me. Recovering alcoholic here, absolutely on point. Not excusing the actions, because we are all responsible for our own actions, even under incapacitation. But, to explain how your brain begins to justify and normalize your actions is effing difficult. You do crap that you would have never even considered sober, at least a few months dry, and burn bridges of people who help you the most. It's an effed up way to live, because those who care for you deepest are the ones you hurt most of all. Had a similar situation. A guy I used to be friends with couldn't afford to pay his bills. It was middle of winter, his heat was shut off in his house, so I told him he could crash at my place until he figured it out. 3 days in and I'm coming home to my sink stacked with dishes, garbage everywhere, all my food gone. I told him he can't stay if he's not going to contribute or help out around the house. Couple days later I told him he had to go. Dude runs off to the West Coast to essentially die, comes back a very mentally unhinged drug addict. I still talk to him online now and again, but I can't be his friend anymore. Wow dude, that's such a bummer. You feel bad and you want to help, but you can't be setting your house on fire to keep other people warm. A friend of mine borrowed a game off me once. About a month later I remembered and asked for it. He told me he couldn't give it back because he gave it to his younger brother for his birthday, would have asked for money, but I knew it would have been difficult, and the way I saw it, was easier to just lose him as a friend. His friendship was worth less than the value of a cheap game. My mother and her new husband had moved into a new place and invited all the kids over for Christmas. In previous years we would buy a whole turkey dinner from somewhere, so no one, me, had to cook, so imagine my surprise when my husband and I walk in. My mother walks out of the kitchen, hands me a spoon and says, "Good, you're finally here," and goes to sit down in the living room. After a quick and awkward conversation, it was determined that my job was to make sure everything currently in progress, or not even started, got to the table on time, while everyone else socialized. Basically, I was the help and should have realized that, so any feelings I had about that were my fault. I was a good cook, and my mother taught me everything, so I owed her. So I did, and not knowing the family dynamics, my new step-siblings were very thankful and appreciative of all my efforts, which caused a meltdown from my mother about how we all should be thanking her. That was the first time I used a phrase that has come in handy for these situations: "I'm so sorry, it will never happen again." And it never did. They weren't happy when they finally realized what that meant. "I'm so sorry, it will never happen again." This is the most beautiful passive-aggressive line I have seen in years. Well done. This is selfish, but I want to know what the fallout was like. I guess it depends on what you mean by fallout. She decided it was completely out of line for me to complain, and if that's how I felt, we could just stay home from now on. As you can imagine, I was completely crushed that I wasn't going to be used for labor anymore and went completely no contact the next holiday. Probably more to do with being in Cuba, but whatever. The next year was Dad's turn, then a trip to visit my Phil the year after, then I ruined Christmas because I didn't want to spend time with my family. None of the others wanted to be kitchen bitch while she hosted. I never made her a meal again, but I know from my stepsister that she would get pissed off whenever one of my friends or family would make gushing posts Facebook of my dinners. And all because someone dared to thank me for cooking. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. I'm very glad you're away from her now. The drama llamas have been fed. Lol. I am a morbidly obese drama llama. I am thrilled COVID has cancelled Thanksgiving. My wife is an amazing cook. My mother doesn't like that. So we have been eating crappy store-bought Thanksgiving dinner because my mom doesn't want to cook but also doesn't want to let my wife cook. This year Thanksgiving will be just my family and I am thrilled. I'm so sorry. Man. That is so effing unfair. I have also experienced something sort of like this. Anytime my ex had his family over for holidays, I'm talking 5 or 6 people, all from the other side of the country. Ironically, he never seemed to know ahead of time that they were all coming over until like the day before or whatever. Every single time. So I would prepare the house. Because he always had to work until the very minute they needed to be picked up from the airport. And then it was expected that I would cook dinner. Now this is my fault really, because I did it the first time, giving him the idea that I would do it every time. So I ended up always doing it because he didn't have time or I'm better at it. So family would show up, I'd be cooking and cleaning, everyone else would be playing games and socializing, then hours later my ex would be falling asleep on the floor drunk. I finally said no the last time he told me everyone was coming over. I said no, I'm sick of being taken advantage of. His response? I did it for you, I thought it would make you happy. Didn't you have fun all the other times? To which I replied I thought you didn't know until today. When did you decide this would make me happy? Well, I got a hotel room and stayed the F away until they all left. Came home to an empty, trashed house. Edit, sorry guys I didn't clarify, when I came home the family was gone, he was at work, of course, and he left the house trashed. I didn't realize I worded it as if he suddenly moved out. Haha nope. Idiot me just cleaned it up and stuck around another year or so after. Just refused to host any sudden family get-together. I did it for you, I thought it would make you happy. Didn't you have fun all the other times? You weren't supposed to complain either. How ungrateful we are not to want to cater and clean while everyone else enjoys themselves. I'm not at all surprised he's an ex. Congratulations on dodging that bullet. Oh man, I had something similar. Partner and I moved provinces, only family in our new area is partner's aunt and uncle and their kids about an hour from us. They invited us down for Christmas a few years ago. Nothing too fancy, just family. Cool. They're pretty religious and we're pretty gay, so I'm always a touch hesitant spending a lot of time, but it was Christmas and family and yada yada yada. We get there and I ask if they need any help with anything, just general good guest stuff. The aunt then reveals that the reason they invited us was for me to help in the cooking of the turkey and sides. I'm a good cook, and I don't mind helping out, and she's not the most confident cook, so it's not a huge deal. So I follow her to the kitchen and nothing has been done. Like, turkey is still in the plastic. She says the oven is a bit finicky and that she'll leave me to it. Like, literally expected me to come and cook them the whole Christmas dinner. My partner was out in the yard with his cousins playing on a frozen pond, his aunt and uncle were drinking in their living room, and I'm pretty well being treated as the help for the next few hours. Partner comes in and sees me in the kitchen, comes and chats and realizes the reason we got invited was for me to cook for them. He's pissed. I'm just carrying on. I serve up dinner, we eat, and then we leave right away. A couple days later he chews his aunt out on the phone and we haven't seen them since. Evidently in the call she had made some comment about not abiding by our lifestyle choice but made an exception because of the way my partner's mother raved about my cooking. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.